Welcome to the Obviously Complicated podcast. I am Dave Borowski, your host, and this is Jack. Jack, introduce yourself and tell the people where they can find you.
I am Jack Stoltman. You can find me at Jack Stoltman on Instagram. And like Dave, I am a local comic here in Austin. Just got here about a month ago.
It's
been a lot of fun.
We've done what, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 spots together at this point?
Somewhere around there.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Mostly at the Creek, right?
Yeah. And then all the Kill Tony signups.
Yeah, I've definitely seen you at those.
Yeah.
We've done Poor Choices together then too, right?
Actually, I don't know if I've not done that show.
You should. It's a Kill Tony warm-up show.
Oh yeah, no, I have done that, and
Yeah.
I will do it today. I thought you meant the actual.
I don't know if Jared's
Show
doing it
later
today,
today.
but we'll fucking try.
Okay.
Last night we met fucking Duncan Trussell. How cool was that?
Yeah, that was cool.
That was rad, right?
Yeah, and I met Jamie Kilstein too.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I did not meet Jamie, but I saw him like walking around and talking to people and shit.
Yeah.
No, it was rad. It was one of those moments that you're like, oh right, I'm in the right scene.
Yeah.
You know, for me at least, I've had a couple of those moments. My first Kill Tony appearance, I got to meet all those guys and some other pretty famous people that told me not to tell anybody that I saw them there. But I'll tell you who it was off camera, unless I have already. Yeah, it's a wild thing down here, man. I'm super stoked about it. I've got this fucking kind of buzz about me, it seems. I don't know if you've noticed, but everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's Dave, the fucking dude with green hair." It tells rape jokes and shit.
Right.
It's cool, man. I think I don't know if I've asked you this, Jack. How long have you been doing comedy?
Only 6 months.
Ah, fuck that. You're brand new, bro. Yeah.
I've been hitting it hard though, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. I've been doing it for 7 years, but this is the hardest I've ever done it.
New.
Yeah, I've 7 years, but like I had to take gaps and stuff, which ended up just becoming material. But for wild shit like my son dying and other shit like that.
When did that happen?
Now that's been about 6 years ago.
6 years. Yeah, my younger brother died in 2020. So.
Well, sorry to hear that, man. But whether they like it or not, they're bits now.
Yeah.
It was my favorite comedian, Trevor Moore. When somebody asked him what he wanted his son to be when he grew up, he was like, I don't know, I wouldn't really care. But like the one thing
now he'll never know.
Now he'll never know.
No, he'll never know.
Yeah. But he said the one thing that would make him feel like he's a bad parent is if his son ended up being a comedian, and he'd be like, "What did I do wrong?" But now I think what he did wrong was die.
Yeah.
So yeah.
His son will probably end up being a comedian.
Almost certainly now.
That's like the origin story, right?
Yeah,
Comedian
he'll be the next Pete Davidson.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, this podcast is mostly talking shit and busting bits. We do like to, splice a couple different topics in. Usually we talk about media or something nerdy and weird, and then like some sort of conspiracy theory or current event or crazy shit like that. And then we like to close the pod off with a segment called Deep Boys, where we just get real fucking like cringeworthy sharing. Yeah, well, I think we just kind of we almost just did Deep Boys. Yeah.
I was gonna say
talking about people that have died in our lives. But we could even return to that topic of it. But I think I like to talk about conspiracy theories. Are you into conspiracy theories at all?
Big time.
Well, what's your favorite conspiracy theory that you don't necessarily believe?
Oh, I don't. Most of them I don't believe, but sunscreen gives you cancer. Sunscreen gives you skin cancer. That's probably my favorite one.
That's a good one.
I don't wear sunscreen, but I don't go out in the sun for like more than like 30 minutes at a time, unless it's like late in the day. I think the sun's actually really good for you, and I think smearing that shit on you probably has more chemicals than the damage the sun's gonna do. I think there's some truth to that.
Well, and just the fact that there's this huge movement of like sunscreen every day.
Right.
And it's like that's to sell a product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what it makes me think of, at least right away.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is capitalism at its best.
Right.
You know,
Just if nothing else, they're making you afraid of the sun. Just to
you
sell
should
their
always
crap.
wear a condom all the time. Not just when you need it. You need to always have a condom on.
Just in case your dick comes in contact with an airborne STD.
Yeah. So like, you know, that would be just to sell condoms. You know, I don't know. That's a fun one. My favorite conspiracy theory that I don't necessarily believe, because there are some for sure that I believe, but like that I don't necessarily believe. Have you heard the conspiracy theory about how COVID was released by the Chinese government to get rid of all of their unproductive eaters?
No, I haven't heard that.
So like China's been having like the one child rule for like years and years and years and years, and what that has done is has made an overabundance of like mediocre men.
Right.
Like just that don't have any prospects. They're never gonna get married. They're never gonna find a girl. They don't have any like, you know, redeemable skills. So they just like move to these towns where like 4 or 5 like really older women just kind of take care of thousands of these single unproductive men. Yeah.
I thought they were moving to Africa and hooking up with the Black Queens. I heard.
There's some of that. There's some of that, but like
they're colonizing Africa.
There's a large portion of those, you know, what communists call unproductive eaters.
Yeah.
You know, they're just there to consume resources and not contribute anything. So there's a conspiracy theory that is the reason that COVID happened was like the Chinese government was like, we gotta fucking get rid of all these guys. they have to die.
I mean,
you know.
is there any evidence that the disease is able to target people based on something like that?
I'm not sure I buy this one,
right.
But like a lot of people that were proponents of this conspiracy theory were the major like first wave of like the Wuhan lab leak people.
It's just an alarm.
Let's get to the podcast. But yeah, so like that's a weird one that I don't think I believe, but it's really funny and it's interesting to like see people freak out about. What about a conspiracy theory that you actually think is like plausible?
Plausible?
I mean, because you don't really know for sure, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like, is it plausible? Like, you know what I mean?
There's ones that are like so mainstream they're almost not worth mentioning, but like in terms of like 9/11, it's like I don't think there were holograms or bombs in the buildings. I just think that like there were elements within the U.S. government, Saudi government, and Israeli government
that were all
that made
kind of
this happen. You know,
Well, that I for sure believe, but I also 100% believe that there were bombs in the buildings.
Oh, okay. Well, we can go there. I'm willing
I mean,
to
like
believe it.
Building 7 is you know the.
I think that's possibly the case, but
Well,
then
I mean,
again,
like,
I think the culprit's more important than
for
the
sure.
logistics of how it, you know.
I agree,
Yeah.
But it just like the fact that I mean I remember being a kid like 11 years old, 11 or 12. I was 12 years old, right about to turn 13, and I remember watching it happen on TV, and I was like, they totally blew those buildings up, right? Like, there's no way that like a plane hitting them and them burning for 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden another plane hits the other one, and then they burn for 45 minutes, and then they both fall at the same time. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, and then like I remember watching the news, and there were people be in the lobby, and they're like, "Yeah, we heard this loud explosion inside the building," and then it started coming down.
Yeah.
Like, there was one firefighter who was on the first floor that he said the explosion in the basement knocked him to the ceiling of the first floor, and then he heard a bunch of smaller explosions.
Jesus. And he survived?
Yeah, he was in the rubble for 2 days, but he survived. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't know people were in the rubble for 2 days. How do you not suffocate on dust and?
I don't know. Fucking, have you seen that movie Dying Light with fucking Stallone? Or what is it? Is it called Dying Light or Last?
It's about 9/11.
No, it came out before that. It's about like the tunnel to New York collapsing or whatever.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, just gotta climb out of the rubble and shit.
That's the whole movie?
Well, yeah, the whole movie's like him
It's
inside
him
of it trying to
climbing out
stop
rubble.
it, and then it happens
Okay,
anyway, and
gotcha,
then he survives. It's one of those like big disaster set piece 90s action films,
Yeah,
you know.
Okay, here's a better one that's less mainstream. I've been racking my brain because I am a big conspiracy guy, or used to be, but I just haven't thought about them in a while, to be honest.
I'm trying to figure out how to put them into my act.
Yeah.
Because, like, my act is so one thing, at least for my first half, if I'm doing a long set. I got another 10-minute spot this Friday, too,
Oh,
by
nice.
the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fucking, like,
Good for you.
fucking rolling, dude.
Yeah.
It's good. But no, what's the theory?
You've heard of MK Ultra, right?
Yes.
Have you heard that MK Ultra or something to that effect has been, the source of most serial killers, mass murderers?
Yeah,
serial
no, I have
killers?
heard this
Yeah.
theory. Well, and the thing that I find difficult to believe about that is that there's been serial killers for hundreds and thousands of years before MK Ultra happened. Do I think that it made more? Well, I mean, it for sure is. Charles Manson's a product of MK Ultra.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
That's one that I just heard. That's like, yeah, maybe.
Kind of adjacent.
I've read one book about MK Ultra. One mainstream book about one of the guys behind it, and it was like in that book, in the telling of it in that book, it ended in the same spot that the government officially says it ended. And there's nothing like that going on right now. But I don't necessarily believe that.
Well, one of the things that I think is fascinating when they did studies on like remote viewing and whether or not you can use psychedelics for mind control and all this stuff, is that they came out and were like, it didn't work. We did it, but it didn't work.
We did it, but it didn't work.
Which, if it did, would you fucking tell anybody?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, would you immediately be like, "No, this shit doesn't work," so no one else would fucking try it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That bothers me because, like, it's like, dude, I mean, come on, Well, and we don't even have to.
Well, they never tell us.
We don't even have to talk about Epstein, right? Like, he for sure was murdered.
Oh yeah.
Like that was one of the ones that people are like, I don't know, it's a conspiracy theory, and it's like, come on, dude.
Well, I think most people will agree with you on that he was murdered. I think the most striking thing about Epstein, and really our reaction to it, is like everybody knew at the time and knows now. Mm-hmm. If you bring it up, like they don't really think about it, but they'll know. They'll agree with you. It's not really a conspiracy theory. It kind of is, but it's like the main thrust of that story was that there's all this blackmail, or if there maybe there's blackmail, maybe there isn't, but all these
there's for sure
all these
blackmail.
Billionaires and politicians were going to this guy's island or to his house in New York City, and they were fucking minors. Yeah, it's like that was the main thrust of the story. It's not like, did he kill himself or was he assassinated? No, like the main thrust of the story is that everyone with a modicum of power in our country is compromised by this guy. It's like, by this guy and whoever he works for, because he was just the fixer.
Do you think? I was going to say, do you think it's the CIA? Because I really feel like it could be the CIA.
I think it's American and Israeli intelligence. I think it's CIA and Mossad. And he was found. They found foreign passports.
What's her fucking name? Was
Ghislaine Maxwell? Yeah,
was a British and Israeli intelligence worker.
Well, her father was. I don't know if she ever. Her father was like a triple agent. Like, not only was he a double agent working for British intelligence and Russian intelligence, but he was also working for Israeli intelligence.
Yep.
And then,
well, did you see like the one thing that she posted when she like escaped after Epstein got murdered before she got arrested and all that stuff happened to her as well?
The thing of her reading a book in public or something, or was this?
Well, yeah, but she also had like written on the newspaper that was on the table, like Epstein was an intelligence officer.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like this whole big thing. And then the book she was reading was about like the CIA.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I do remember. I remember hearing from.
Burp! I'm gonna grab another beer.
You're good. I'll keep talking. I remember hearing from some law enforcement officer who said that, and this was the first time Epstein was arrested, back in like 2012 or whatever it was.
Was it 09 or 13?
I think it was 13. It was the first time he actually ended up doing jail time.
Jail
yeah,
time.
I know. Whatever, prison time in like, you know, a mansion or whatever, whatever it was that happened to him. But I remember this guy, and I can't remember his name, and I can't remember at what level of law enforcement he was, but he was local, state, or fed of some kind, and he says he remembers hearing from like a higher up, like, you know, hands off Epstein. He's the property of intelligence. Like, that was the phrase used, property of intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds right to me. Like,
Yeah.
and it's weird, man. That's a strange one that really, really fucking bothers me.
Because everybody knows about it, and everybody knows.
Well, but like also, you know,
they get it right.
How much are you fucking fucked if someone has video footage of you having sex with a minor?
Right.
Like that's like the best blackmail possible.
Right.
I mean, like the only that you can easily trick somebody into. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, like having video footage of someone murdering somebody is probably better.
I mean, it's conceivable. Even that, in some cases, he knew that there were guys that would not want to have sex with an underage girl, and then he would tell them that she was not 15, but she was 18 or whatever, you know, and then
right, and then get him drunk,
reveal,
you know, and then the girl, you know, is gonna come over and take her top off and sit on his lap, and
yeah.
You know, this is why I wouldn't fucking hang out with the guy, because, like, you know, I'm fallible, I'm a red-blooded man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You want to know something interesting about Bill Gates' involvement with Epstein is that he didn't get involved with him until after
the initial arrest.
The initial arrest, and like a lot of people around Bill Gates, including his wife, and you know other close counselors, like, you know, they were like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And he said, like, he's on record or like being quoted by these people saying, like, Epstein can help me get a Pulitzer Prize because, like, he has these two specific connections to, like, two people who are like the makers.
Well, yeah, that's why he falls back on the fundraising angle. Which honestly, like, I could see Bill Gates just doing it for more power.
I think he really wanted the Pulitzer Prize. I think he's telling the truth about that. But it's crazy that Epstein had the power to get somebody a Pulitzer Prize. If they would just appear on camera having sex with
this fucking, you know, underage sex trafficker pimp. Like,
yeah. Well, I think that's the trait. It's like, hey, you're a really powerful billionaire with a lot of influence and capital, social and literal capital. You know, like, I can get you your Pulitzer Prize because, you know, that's your legacy. I know you want that. All you have to do is have sex with this 15-year-old girl on camera, and then basically I can, you know, tell you what to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And Bill Gates probably would have gone for it because he doesn't have that much life ahead of him. He wants that legacy more than anything else. And he's willing to be Epstein's, you know, errand boy for the rest of his, you know, for the rest of his life.
Well, it's crazy. I don't know if you've seen any of the Trevor Moore show. It's like this like sort of deconstructed talk show that he did on YouTube.
I haven't, but I'm familiar with it.
Well, he did this one segment with a medium.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know, he was trying to disprove or you know, have the conversation of, like, do ghosts exist? You know, can it be proven? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you know, she, like, channeled a spirit into the room or whatever and was using dowsing rods. I don't know if you know what dowsing rods are. There's these little, like, L-shaped metal rods.
Yeah.
That, supposedly, I've never used them, but supposedly you can't control them. You can't make them face a certain direction or anything.
Okay.
They're, like, weighted in a way that they'll always point forward,
okay,
unless someone, like, literally moves them. And that's a way that, like, you can ask yes or no questions to, like, people from, like, the spirit realm. And so they started asking, you know, like, you know, was it the Clintons that killed Epstein and the dowsing rods didn't cross? She was like, no. And it was like, was it Trump? And they didn't cross. And he was like, and she was like, no. And then he was like, was it the British family? And they went, eek.
Oh my God. Well, yeah. Well,
that could be complete bullshit and parlor tricks, you know, because 80% of, you know, real magic is. 20% of it actually exists. It's mostly just intention and meditation and pageantry. But, yeah, it was a weird thing because, I mean, really, the British family has, you know, maybe more power than the Clintons and Trump. Almost certainly.
Well, I don't believe they're not all on the same side here. And,
I would agree.
They all
I
want
would
this
agree.
guy dead,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know,
all
so-
the elites are trying to keep each other in the elite spots.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really.
They don't really have any real beef with each other. Not even Trump and the Clintons. Like, not even. Like a personal grudge, maybe, but like.
Well, it was a popularity contest to see who would be the face of the same thing.
Right.
But that's just it's interesting because what was his name? Prince. What was it?
Andrew.
Prince Andrew. Yeah. Was one of the people specifically listed by many survivors.
Oh, and there's pictures of him with these girls.
Yeah.
We don't see the compromising pictures, but it's like, what do you think happened after?
Well, and that's the other fucking wild thing is that he had I don't know how many hard drives and all of this actual video footage and stuff, like dozens and dozens and dozens of hard drives. See, I told you it would be funny. It's just it's because it's a janky little budget setup here, but all the hard drives were either found bricked.
Oh, really? I haven't heard what happened to the hard drives.
Or
the FBI
or just have never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
And it's like, where the fuck did all this fucking evidence go?
Right.
And no one talks about that. Everyone's like, oh, he hung himself, or he didn't hang himself. It's like, what about the fucking hard drives, dude?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's one. I mean, the FBI is like a political tool of the ruling class, and they not only will they find evidence of where is this goddamn there it is.
It's under your feet. We had to thread it through your chair, so
they'll conveniently ignore evidence they find of countless powerful people having sex with minors. They'll ignore that.
But and other weird things too.
Something they recently did was it was recently published, but I think this might have been a year ago or so. That they actually raided somebody's house over this, but the Daily Mail published excerpts from Joe Biden's oldest daughter's diary that she wrote while she was in a rehab program.
Interesting. I haven't heard about this.
You haven't heard about this?
No.
And I think it was Project Veritas had the diary a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't publish it. They didn't do anything with it, but they acquired it. They bought it off somebody else who had found it at the rehab center.
Interesting.
Which is not illegal. And possessing the diary, not illegal.
Right.
But they came and raided somebody's house to try to find that diary.
Yeah, I remember this now. Yeah, I remember the diary thing now.
Yeah. But it has actually been published at this point recently.
And
they didn't publish the whole thing, but there was one thing they published which is maybe it's a big deal, maybe it's not, but it's kind of fucked up at the very least. She was writing about I think she was in rehab for I don't know how many different things. I don't know what the rehab center she was in, but she had been in rehab for sex addiction as well as drug addiction in the past. So she had, in this diary, was writing about her sex addiction and her problems with sex and was tracing back through her life where this might have come from, how she started getting sexualized at a young age and stuff like that. And she has memories of what she called probably inappropriate showers that she had with her father, and she was old enough to remember it. And it's she was not only old enough to remember it, but old enough to no longer be taking baths. So. And she didn't say she was molested by Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had maybe borderline inappropriate showers with my mom when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think it's a weird way to approach people's bodies are being different, so that might not be strange. But also, you've seen my act, so I got fucked up as a kid. So it wasn't my folks, but that I think that kind of compacted it. But there was no way they could have known. You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't think the diary is that big of a bombshell. And that line isn't either. But I think the bombshell is the FBI is, Joe Biden's personal army raiding people's houses looking for a diary.
Yeah, if Trump had done some shit like that, everyone would have lost their fucking minds.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a fan of Trump. I just like his comedy.
Right.
All right, that's a good segment about the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
We're also going to be tight on time today, so
Yeah. I think we could leave and get there later rather than sooner. Last week they didn't even bring out the list till almost 7. Like it was like 6:50 something when they brought out the list.
I was going to say, give us like 10 minutes before 7 because it
Yeah.
doesn't take that long to get there from here.
Yeah.
And we're good. This is great podcasting.
Exactly.
What you watching?
What am I watching? Man, I don't watch much. I'm not a big watcher. I have been watching The Sopranos, and I haven't touched it in a month or two, probably. And,
like since you were prepping to move here,
yeah.
and since you've moved here.
Yeah, since I moved here. Since I moved here a month ago, I've watched exactly one thing, and that was Blade Runner 2049.
Have you never seen it before?
I've never seen it before.
What'd you think?
I thought it was awesome, and I thought it was great.
That's the correct answer. Yeah. My favorite movie in the world is the original Blade Runner.
I had also just watched that, like probably 2 weeks to a month.
What version did you watch?
The extended,
the final cut or whatever.
Yeah.
Which that one's great. I have a personal love for the original director's cut. That's my favorite version of the film. Which is basically the same film. Some of the stuff is not as like modernly HD'd up, and but I kind of like that because it gives it this like old filmy kind of quality to it. And then there's like I don't know like 60 seconds of like weird clip footage that they just left on the cutting room floor initially. Don't ever watch the theatrical cut.
Okay.
It's bad.
Wasn't planning on it.
It has a weird, worse ending, and like, because the ending that they give you, once Ridley Scott was like, "You fucked up my movie, let me remake it."
Yeah.
Is that very ambiguous ending of like him walking into the elevator, and you're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Is she's a replicant for sure. Is he a replicant? Like, what the fuck are they gonna do? Like, why does he have this unicorn thing now? Like, who fucking but he has this like certainty of like he knows what he's gonna do, and then you're like, that's the movie, and you're like, ah, shit. I think that's like maybe the best ending in
What is the theatrical ending?
It sees them escape the city in his car, his ground car, and and also it's like the whole thing's peppered with this absolutely god awful voiceover by Harrison Ford.
Oh, really?
And you can tell in his voiceover that he's like knows that it's ruining the movie, and he fucking hates it, and he doesn't want to do it at all. So like the whole time he's doing the voiceover, you can just hear he's like, I'm fucking reading enough of the script. This is so stupid that they're fucking making us do this, but whatever. Studios, It's kind of his tone the whole time, and it really detracts from the film.
Yeah.
Also, part of my reason with my big criticism of the new Batman movie.
The voiceover?
The voiceover.
Yeah. I liked it. You know what's funny?
I liked the movie. I just felt like if they scrapped the voiceover...
Oh, I didn't like them. Yeah, I mean,
it would have been
there was a lot
perfect.
about that. I don't like long movies to begin with. And I think, like, if they...
I don't mind them.
If they cut out Catwoman entirely... I wouldn't be upset. And if they cut out, if they had Batman and one villain, rather than Batman, Catwoman, and like two
and
ish
Penguin
villains,
and the Riddler, and a hint at the Joker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
whole mob thing. Was like a second. The mob was the second villain. The first villain was the Riddler. It's like you could have just picked one. You could have just done the Riddler.
I like how they the two villains were kind of already fighting each other before Batman's even involved. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was interesting. Cool. And it made a really fun, compelling story, but
it was.
I thought they fucked up. Have you seen like the deleted scene, the released deleted scene of the Joker?
No. What was it gonna be?
Well,
who is it?
I can't fucking remember his goddamn name. He's some like weirdo British kid who like plays like weird, creepy kind of people, is what he's sort of known for. Which I think is the wrong move with the Joker.
Yeah.
I think you want to cast a really good actor who you wouldn't have guessed that would be the Joker. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or me. Cast me. No, I mean my idea for like what would be a really fun twist on the Joker is like have him like somehow infiltrate like the Build-A-Bear group, like the Build-A-Bear group.
Bilderberg.
Bilderberg, yeah. And, like kill like the 9 of the 10 most rich, powerful people in the world, get them on tape confessing to how much they fucked over like the working class, steal all of their money, and then solve the Gotham crime problem with all of their money.
Interesting.
And then like show up and be like, Bruce, you gotta stop being Batman, dude. It's not good. You need to go to therapy. Is he doing it because he thinks he's the hero, or is he doing it because he thinks it's funny?
Yeah.
To do all this to fuck with Bruce to show him that like he's going about what he's trying to do the completely wrong way because he's an asshole. He just wants to beat up people.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really fucking cool and interesting take on the character.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because it would play with your like...
They did a little bit of that with the Riddler. Like, the Riddler was like...
Yeah, it was close, but he was also kind of like a Zodiac killer. You know what I mean? Like, he had this little bit of like... he was like a dark vigilante, you know?
Yeah.
Which I thought was good. I thought that was a fun, subversion of expectations about what it could be. I also thought fucking Colin Farrell did a bang-up job as the fucking Penguin.
Yeah, true.
He transformed.
Yeah.
It's maybe some of the best work I think he's ever done.
Yeah.
And I like Colin Farrell. I don't know. I've been rewatching The OA. You ever seen The OA?
No. I don't know what it is.
It's a series on Netflix that I don't know how to... all right, so I'll just give you the premise because it's a fucking ride. It's a wild, existential mindfuck of a ride.
No, that wasn't sure.
It would have been funnier if you farted. So it's like the premise is this blind girl goes missing and then shows up again 7 years later.
Yeah.
And now she can see.
She can see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. And so it goes into depth. Like when she was a kid, she had like a near-death experience and went to like a different dimension.
Yeah.
And so it turns out where she was for those 7 years was being studied by like a sort of like pragmatic, lawful evil kind of scientist.
Yeah.
Who was trying to figure out how to prove that there is life after death.
Interesting.
And so she was like trapped in a basement with like 3 or 4 other.
And he accidentally cured her blindness.
Well, yeah, because what he's doing to them is that they're all near NDE survivors, near-death experience survivors. So they've all been to the other side.
Blinded? Was she blinded by the near-death experience?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And so like her like dying again and going back to that thing for whatever reason cures her blindness, and it gets really existential and strange in this kind of like almost magic, almost fantasy kind of sci-fi weird way. I don't know. It's very, very good and it's very compelling.
Yeah.
It's one of the better shows that I've ever seen.
What's it on?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What year is it from?
Season 1 came out in 2016.
Okay.
And then season 2 came out in 2019. And then, like, it's a very short period of time passed, and they canceled it.
Really?
But, like, they dropped the first season without any advertisements, any fucking anything, like, nothing. And just wanted it to be like this, like, what is this show? This weird show? Why haven't I heard about it? It just got released on Netflix? So it was part of the mystery. It's kind of like almost David Lynchian in that way, and that like they really fucking fuck with like how you perceive things.
Yeah.
And so there's a fan theory because the creators of it have been posting really cryptic stuff on Instagram and then deleting it really quickly. And one of the storylines through the show is that like somebody online creates this like puzzle game for like the masses to try to figure out.
Uh-huh. And
so I don't think it's actually canceled. It seems to me...
When did they announce that it was canceled?
Like months after the second season, which did great numbers. Like it was a huge smash hit.
Yeah.
And then the wild thing is that like people like took to the streets and started doing like the rituals in the show, like to protest it being canceled and stuff. Which now all of that could be material for the next fucking season if they...
People protested
Yeah,
in real life.
In real life? Which is wild, dude.
That's funny. That is quite funny.
Oh, grab me another one if you're going in there.
You want another one of those? I'm gonna get a light beer of some sort, or just a regular beer.
Grab me a Pabst too. I'll take a Pabst.
Oh. Man, I would say The Sopranos is my favorite show, but
Sopranos is good. That's a decent pick, man. I can't argue that. You know what I mean?
It's slowed down a bit though, wherever I'm at, which is the second to last season, like season 6A or whatever. And I think that's where I'm at. And it's kind of been like, I haven't seen a good episode in a while, so I haven't watched it in 2 months.
Well, I mean, that's the problem with the end of The Sopranos. I feel like it went on like a season and a half longer than it should have.
Yeah.
But still a masterfully done show.
Yeah, I mean...
They learned the mistake from The Sopranos when they made Breaking Bad, and they were like, we're just going to end it right when it's supposed to be ended.
And the one thing I didn't like about Breaking Bad, well, I mean, the one season I didn't like was the last season. And the thing I didn't like about it is because I think it could have ended with Gus Fring, and they didn't need to introduce another villain, in the form of whatever that.
I mean, Gus Fring is
was.
the best antagonist in the show for sure, but like,
I'm not saying it could have ended there, but they could have wrote a different ending to the show that involves him and maybe a few episodes after him, rather than a whole season after him. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the point of the last season, for me at least, was that's what really told you that like Gus Fring wasn't actually the antagonist.
Yeah, it's
been Walt the whole time.
True.
You know what I mean? Like,
I've heard that. Yeah.
It turns out like who we thought the protagonist of the story was is really the antagonist.
Yeah.
The actual protagonist of the story is Jesse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think that's really cool, and the way that they ended it, I thought, hats off, and fuck you. There's no spoilers. Jesus Christ. Watch Breaking Bad. It ended forever ago. No, but like with Walt dying and Jesse surviving, that to me was like, oh fuck, that was always how the show was gonna end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, interesting, I don't know. That's one of those shows that I feel like is pretty flawless. I didn't have a problem with hardly any of it.
Are you a big reader? You've been reading anything lately?
I read. I've been reading through Modern Magic again, which is a book that was suggested to me by Jason Louv, who's kind of the guy I look to as far as magical mentorship.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I've also been reading this book by Terry Pratchett called The Dark Side of the Sun.
Okay. Which
is like an absurd sci-fi fucking...
I like sci-fi. I like weird sci-fi.
Yeah, it's Terry Pratchett, so it's like goofy and silly and kind of tongue-in-cheek and just weird. It's like halfway between like, I don't know, like, what's the fucking movie, or book, Solaris. It's like halfway between Solaris and like Hitchhiker's Guide for the Galaxy. Okay. You know what I mean? So it's like dark and absurd while also being like fucking goofy and ridiculous, but it has like a nice compelling storyline. Yeah. It's part of the Discworld universe, I believe.
Okay. It is? Okay.
Which is cool. What have you been reading?
I've been reading this, I guess, kind of obscure sci-fi author named Jack Vance.
I've heard of Jack Vance. I haven't read any of his stuff, but
the Dying Earth series.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And it's kind of like that. It's like set in the like, distant future where Earth doesn't resemble Earth at all today, and it's kind of like a mix between. It's almost like a Middle Earth type place.
Interesting.
Huh. And there's demons and magic and wizards and. People walk around with swords on their hips and
wizards have it.
Yeah, but there's also
you kind of look like a young fucking what's his name?
I'm not a Harry Potter guy, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
the guy who says that line.
Yeah,
Hagrid.
You're a wizard. Yeah, that's the one.
But
I'm not a Harry Potter guy either. That I never got into that shit. I'm a big fucking nerd, but like, that shit never fucking really rung true for me.
Yeah. But in this world, there's also like remnants of like technology from like you know, a spacefaring civilization that, like, you know, so stuff like that. But then it's also very just like goofy and funny, and it's like, you know, people. It was like the first one was written in the 50s, so it's like, you know, just like people talk weird in it, and then it's also like cleverly funny in most chapters. You know,
is he a British author?
I actually don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because if he's a British author, I can immediately see that being like a parallel. Because the Brits, you know, they do love their dry humor.
Yeah. I would have to guess, just based on reading it, that he's not British.
Interesting.
Just compared to like Tolkien, like the way he writes, I think it feels American, but
Tolkien,
I could just look it up.
Is like a sort of a class of his own, man.
Yeah.
You know. Who's your favorite author, though?
My favorite author, man, it's tough because I feel like I haven't read enough of like the classics, like enough of like I haven't read enough Hemingway. I've only read his short stories, never read a novel. Like I haven't read.
Hemingway's good. I mean, he's a little dry, but like he's good. I probably would have to say Ray Bradbury is my favorite author.
Okay,
1984.
That's just.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah.
1984 was George Orwell.
Yeah, I'm reading 1984 right now. Actually,
it's
the first time.
fucked.
Yeah, like I'm reading
so
it. I'm only like 80 pages in, right? I'm reading this, and
so you're almost done.
So no, it's actually the copy I have at least. It's small, so like there's not many words. It's like a very like not very wide, you know. So it's like there's a lot of pages.
Oh, okay, because it's not like a larger book. It's like a pocket book.
Yeah, it's like a pocket book, exactly. And so it's like I'm 80 pages into like 320 pages, so like I'm not that far into it. And so I guess a quarter in, or I'm bad at math, but anyways, something like that. And I'm realizing, and I never had to read it in middle school. I never had to read it in high school, but like I was reading it, I'm like, this is fucked up that they made kids read this, because like this is not a science fiction book. This is not a dystopian future book. This is a horror novel. This seems like a horror novel to me so far.
Like, I mean, yeah, it is. It is a horror with like a dystopian backdrop.
Yeah.
Like it's of all of Orwell's work, it is the most like Poe that I can think of. Like it's like if Poe wrote a fucking dystopian sci-fi, because it's like it's so anxious and like intense and like paranoid.
Yeah.
I also really like Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
That is good. That was like when I kind of got back into reading at one point in college, and that was like the first book I picked up to get back into reading.
Dude, yeah, that fucking book fucked me up, man. Like you know, everyone takes their happy drugs, and like denying anyone sex is illegal. Which it reads like porn. Like you can kind of fuck whoever you want now, at least in your mind, and it's like. I don't know, it's weird, man. Like, prostitution's illegal, but, like, if you have a video camera and everybody can watch, totally fine.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? That's weird, right? Like, that's fucking creepy. I don't understand it. It's strange.
It's been a while since I read that, but I guess my biggest takeaway from that was, like, if you just put, like, vices in front of people, then you don't need all these authoritarian measures that, you know, you would think.
Yeah,
you know, like you just
they distract themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's fucking weird, man. All right, well, I'm gonna ask you this then.
Sure.
What's the last time you saw somebody else's stand up and you were like, "Fuck, that shit's awesome," and like we're really fucking like turned on and it like refueled your love for like the craft?
I mean, I can't say that I've seen that from, and I know that like I've seen people, obviously local comics who are much better than me, but I can't say I've gotten that feeling from a local comic, and part of the reason is just because it's like I've only been to open mics here, so it's like I haven't seen them performing in front of good crowd. You know, like there's an extent.
There's still good crowds in open mic situations, but it's much more of a toss up for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not blaming the crowd for anything here. I'm just saying like I did finally go to my first actual show in Austin with a touring comic, and that was Friday night. I went to go see Louis J. Gomez, and I came in.
Oh, you were talking about how good his fucking set was.
Yeah, it was so good, and so was
that's the one.
Kim, so was Kim Congdon. They were both really good, and
Kim's fucking great.
She was probably the best female comic I've ever seen live, and then he was like in my top 3 overall. Louis was.
Well, it's crazy too because I think he's kind of an asshole, but like, I mean, it's sort
and
of.
I'm not like
sort of
I'm familiar with him, but I was like, I don't like.
I'm not like
I don't listen to his podcast.
Yeah, I'm not like the biggest
you know?
fan of his stuff. I think the funniest thing I've ever seen that was involving him was his roast.
Yeah.
And that's because everybody else was really funny.
Yeah.
But no, I don't. I like Lewis's stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's been saying that his new hour is just fire.
It was.
Like, he's like gripped the audience up and fucking just nailed it. Which is dope, dude. Like, that's awesome.
Great crowd work. Like, I mean, he did like probably 20 minutes of crowd work.
That's a lot. That's a lot of crowd work.
Yeah, 10 to 20.
I can do crowd work.
Yeah.
It just like, I don't know. I have like a weird thing about it. Yeah. Like, I feel like I can't like stay in character, if you will. Because like, my set is very much like, you know, I'm playing a psychopath, pedophile, rapist, you know, incest dude for like a couple minutes. Yeah. And then if it's a longer set, then I break the persona and I'm like, all right, guys, you know, like that was all just jokes that I wrote, you know. So doing crowd work in that character, and that's generally when I get heckled or whatever when I'm doing a set. It feels extra mean, which is funny, but I personally feel bad about it. You know, I'm fine with making fun of myself and turning myself into this spectacle, but the moment someone else is like, you know, like it chips in. And sometimes the other weird, creepy thing is that I'll be so into the persona that I'll just immediately fire back and not think about the person's feeling at all. It's a very strange balance, but it's fun. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing the heckle mic last night. That was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
It was like people knew who like I am and like my act and everything. So
I made $5 million last night because I took off my shirt on stage. So
Audrey fucking with the put it on afterwards.
That's funny.
Oh, that's fucking amazing. Yeah,
I feel like I was up there a while, which is like the first time I had that feeling.
Yeah, you had one of the longer stage times of the heckle mic.
Yeah.
Just because like those two bits were so funny, like the take it off and then the put it on right afterwards. It was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like I was kind of, I don't know, there was a couple really good singers that made me laugh, but like it was mostly like people being like, "You look like the Joker got molested," and I'm like,
that was me.
Yeah, you guys have seen my act.
I've never heard you say that.
You know,
I've never heard that joke, and I actually did not. I've not seen you do any jokes about being molested. So when I said that, I didn't know.
Oh, that was you, right?
That was me. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We talked about this afterwards.
I didn't even know that was part of your act. Or that
that's hilarious.
Yeah. Molested. I was just like, you look like the molested Joker.
Surprise! You were right, bro.
You were the Joker, and you were.
Yeah.
I didn't know either of those things.
I mean, it's more of just like an aesthetic that I think works for me. But like, I mean, like, if you watch my Killed Tony thing, well, and I guess it's their jokes, so you don't know how much of them are true. But yeah, I was diddle as a kid, and my son did die. Most of the rest of it's all made up.
I saw that. Was that your only Killed Tony appearance?
So far, yeah.
Okay, I did see it, but it's been so long. The only thing I remember is the
Japanese girl joke.
Yeah.
Well, that one fucking obliterated.
Yeah.
My first joke, or my opener and my first joke did really well too. And then I had the, moved to a new city because I was about to have a son, but he died, so even my kids ghost me.
Yeah.
It's a solid bit. And then my parents are pastors. Don't worry, they're not Catholic. But also, don't worry, I was still raped. But my parents are some of the great ones, Which is I'm fucking up the timing because, like, who cares?
Right.
But, yeah, no, like, that's that's it's heavily a part of my act, and it's part of like what I talk about, for the pod and whatnot, and with other comics and stuff all the time. Because I don't know, like if I could distill my comedy philosophy down to like one like super sincere, not funny truth, is that like I think it's important to take really awful, dark things and reduce their power down to something so small that you can laugh at them.
Yeah.
And then they don't fucking have power over you anymore.
Yeah.
And nothing can do that in the same way that comedy can.
Yeah.
And so that's super gay and sincere.
I don't think about it that hard. I just go up and I do dark jokes. But like you told me, like you go up and you do dark jokes and you're like laughing and you're smiling and it's
right, and you're still like, haha, but you still like me, right?
Yeah. And that's because I'm not trying to.
I go up there and I'm just
not
like,
trying to do anything.
Yeah, I was raped. Isn't that hilarious? And I think there's something funny about that. Like I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if you ever see me do a longer set, which I'm sure will happen soon enough, but like, I break that persona after a little while, and I'm like, all right, you guys want to talk about the time I lived in a halfway house with a male prostitute, or how I shit my pants in jail, going through heroin withdrawal, but ended up being the most popular guy in the whole fucking prison because I used to beat up racists for fun, and we know what is mostly populated. Your jail is mostly populated.
Hey, that's racist.
It's factual. I've been there. So yeah,
I've been not for as long as you, I would guess, but
probably not. I don't know. I didn't do a long bit either. I did 5 months in jail and 4 months in rehab.
Yeah, I did one night in jail.
I'm talking about prison.
You're talking about an actual sentence.
I'm talking about prison.
Yeah, you not get sentenced. I got everything reduced down to a minor misdemeanor.
Well, yeah, you're like actually white.
Yeah. I just beat up my dad.
But really, that's the thing? That's wild, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, since we're sharing, I just stole a bunch of cars and robbed people at gunpoint for heroin.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that's bad. That's worse than beating up your dad. Maybe in some sense, morally, maybe beating up your dad's worse because you aren't actually going to shoot anybody. Maybe.
No, I mean, I don't know. At that point, I was actually full Joker. Like, I probably would have done nearly anything if somebody tried to get in between me and my ex-wife or between us and heroin. I probably would have done something really stupid.
But like when you were robbing people at gunpoint, you were like, I'm not really gonna shoot this guy.
Well, I mean,
right?
At
least that's what I think. Armed robbers are thinking. I think armed robbers are thinking, I'm not really gonna shoot this guy. I think
the threat of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. I mean, I pistol whip people until I'd pull the gun out and they'd be like, "No, I'm not doing it," and I'd be like, "Whap!" Like, all right, now.
Yeah.
And I'm
nobody ever pulled
not proud of any of
Nobody ever pulled a gun on you.
Oh no, I've been on both sides of the thing.
No, but I meant when you pulled a gun on somebody to rob them, did anybody pull a gun on you?
Yes. Oh, yeah, that's happened before, dude. It's a fucking
story.
So I was this drug dealer that wanted to fuck my ex-wife. It was my wife at the time.
Maybe you should have just told your wife, "Hey, don't fuck this guy," and then problem solved.
She wasn't gonna fuck him. But she'd already stolen drugs from him several times and beat him several times.
Beat him.
Beat him for drugs. You know what I mean? Took the drugs, didn't pay him, and just left. Rather than not physical assault. But yeah, when
he's
you're
this bitch owes me some pussy. That's what he.
Sort of where his head was at with it, I guess. And so she came up with this scheme that I would sneak into his backyard, and she would show up on his front door and be like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. Let's go fucking work this out."
I don't have schemes.
His daughter and his grandmother were in the house, so she was like, "Well, let's just go out into the backyard." Mm-hmm. But she already knew all this, so she'd fucking planned this whole thing. And went out there, she dropped to her knees and started undoing his pants, and so he's in it. Little did he know I was right behind him with a gun, and I walked him into the house to go take his stash and whatever his money was. This is real. This is a real story that actually happened. And then, you know, while he was like opening up his safe to like give us all the heroin that he had and all the cash he had, he also pulled a gun out, and I had to hit him over the head with my gun and I knocked him out.
You knocked him out with one hit?
Yeah. Well, before that, also, I fired a shot into the ceiling, which was stupid. And there was also like a 4-year-old in the room, so I'm not super proud of that either. But yeah, then I went to jail and rehab, and I got better.
Oh, that's when you got arrested?
Well, that was in like the last like 2 weeks. Okay. When shit was falling off the fucking rails on a real big intense way.
By the way, she sucked his dick as soon as he went to prison.
She went to prison too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, she went to prison too. And
see, it's like you were like, and I came up with this scheme, and it's like, if you're ever coming up with schemes, like that's. Catch yourself and stop scheming.
Well, I mean, yeah, her scheme was like, we're gonna, you know, I'm gonna distract him by being a hot girl, and then you're just gonna be there being a scary.
No, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but like the way you put it, it's like, man, I don't think I've ever had a scheme. I've never been like, hey, this is my scheme.
Oh, dude, I used to. I had so many schemes, man. My whole life was a fucking.
Your whole life was scheme after scheme.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got traumatized at a young age, and then like existing in the normal world didn't make sense, and then you know, throw drugs on top of that, undiagnosed mental illness and unaddressed trauma. Like
my only scheme right now is to get paid for.
Comedy.
Like, that's a scheme for me. Like, oh, this is a scheme. I'm a rebel.
I don't think I'm getting paid this Friday, but I do actually have a featured spot, so.
Nice.
That's the step in the right direction, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, getting paid for comedy is my next big thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I still want to write books and eventually make movies and stuff, but if I have, you know, one creative outlet or one creative, you know, career path that will pay me rather than me having to bartend to survive, you know.
That's what I'm doing too.
Then once that's happened, cool. Then I can like, until I go up and do my jokes for the night, I can write, I can, you know, work on a screenplay, I can do whatever, you know.
Hey, you work during the day. I mean, if you're a comedian, you know, and you're getting paid for it.
Like, there's so much time during the day. Yeah. I can play 4 hours of Elden Ring and still get shit done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. No, but it's like your work is done. You know, obviously, you know, your work is done in the many hours that you are not performing. Like, it seems so awesome. It's like, man, I can work Thursday through Saturday night. I can be on stage for 5 total hours, and I can get paid X thousands of dollars just for that one weekend. And I only worked 5 hours. It's like, now you worked a lot more than 5 hours during that week.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot
to build it, but like that's fun,
and
it's fun,
and right? And a lot of it is empty time that you can work on whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so many touring comedians do bits about like, you know, oh, I masturbated 8 times today and watched fucking bad reality television all day, and then I went up and did an hour of stand up and went back to my hotel. Like, to me, I always thought, like, dude, why aren't you writing a screenplay or writing a book or, like, something? Like, you know, I don't know.
It's just, I guess, some days you can be like, hey, today's a Saturday. I can do that on a Saturday. But if today's, you know, a Monday and I'm not performing at all, and, like, I might go work new stuff out somewhere in a room.
Right.
You know, like, then that day is a work day, you know. So, like, if I ever got on the road, I'd probably treat it the same way. I'd just have fun on the road, and I'd work when I could.
I don't know if I could, man. I think I would get too fucking restless. I have to be like, all right, I have a book that I'm trying to write while I'm on the road. And I'll do that for a couple hours every day.
Yeah.
And if I do like, you know, 3-4 hours of writing every day on whatever I'm working on, whether it's my act or a book or a novel or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I go do stand up, and then, like, you know, then the next day I could justify like goofing off and masturbating and playing video games for a couple of hours, you know.
Sure.
I don't know. I have too much shit that I want to do. That like the only reason I don't have the time to do it right now is because I have to fucking bartend.
Yeah.
To pay the bills.
Yeah.
So no, what were you gonna say?
I wasn't gonna say anything. I don't know if I was gonna say anything.
You said what are you?
I was gonna say, oh yeah, what are you writing a book about?
So I wrote a book over the pandemic because I couldn't do stand up or bartend or anything creative really. It's called Revision. I'm doing the second draft of it right now.
You're revising it.
I'm revising Revision. Yes, yeah. And then like the whole premise of it is it's like two really fucked up people that are not healthy at all fall in love and try to make a relationship work, and then like drugs, violence, sex, all this messy shit happens with them and like this cast of characters that are all also pretty dysfunctional. And then they have to revise their choices in their relationship. And in order to make it work, or not, in order to be healthy, really. And then like weird sci-fi and mental illness kind of gray area elements are thrown into there, and the idea is that like no matter what you've been through or what's happened to you or who you are, like if you keep working on yourself, you'll get there. Even if it's not like the exact thing that you thought it would be. But anyway, so that's the book that I'm working on. I also have this other book which is like a tough, heavy tragedy that I'm working on, because this one's kind of like a little bit heavy, but mostly like kind of goofy and like a dark comedy. Probably my second favorite author is Chuck Palahniuk.
He's good.
And
I've only read Fight Club, but I read it last year and it was really good. Even when I have never seen the movie, but already knew the ending just because I've heard it.
Well, yeah.
So many times,
it's one of those iconic like twists that has been spoiled for everybody at this point.
And so I read the book knowing it, and it was still fantastic. So like that's a testament to a good writer right there, I think.
Yeah, for sure. While you're grabbing another beer, I'm gonna pee.
All right.
I'm just gonna pause the recording.
When I came in the door when I was sober, that's not the real thing,
Are you aware of what is called the three mask theory?
Well, I have, in terms of masks, I've thought about this a lot in terms of like, I've always been off of social media until I moved to Austin, just because I needed it to network. And so I got on Instagram. And like,
you have one post on Instagram.
I have one post on Instagram. You like it? Speaking of
masks.
It
was funny.
Speaking of masks.
It was funny. It did make me laugh.
But you liked it, but you didn't like it. So go like, no, I'm just kidding. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. But like, my idea behind social media, and explain the three mask theory to me after this, but my idea behind social media is like, that's another layer of masks. Like, I already put on a mask every day when I walk out the door. Why would I create another mask to present to a larger audience?
Well, that's why I don't do that.
I don't do that. And then once I started doing comedy, I realized, look, I don't have to be anyone but my authentic self.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And like, there's still that human thing of like, oh fuck, I don't know this person that well. I have to kind of have my guard up and like. So that's basically the three mask theory, is that like there's three different versions of you. There's first mask, which is like who you are to strangers. And like the employers, the government, anyone you don't know or don't trust. You're like the most politically correct, polite public, version of yourself. But then there's like your close friends and most of your family and stuff, because not everybody has family they can even get to second mask too. But that second mask where you're like a little bit more your real vulnerable self.
I feel like that's true. Like my mom's side of the family, it's like
still third mask or first mask.
I'm like second mask, maybe third mask with some people,
and
then. My dad's side of the family, all third mask. Like it's all
like they're basically raw version.
No, sorry, I got it backwards. Sorry.
Yeah, so first mask is like you're very like well.
Yeah, my dad's side of the family, all first mask. Like my mom's side of the family is all like second or third mask, and it's like, and it's because I grew up within 10 minutes of all these people, whereas my dad's family lived 2.5 hours away. So it's like they're like DMV employees to me.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I get it. Well, and the thing is, third mask is maybe a handful of people.
Yeah,
for me, I have this weird problem where I guess it's not necessarily a problem because I chose to be a comedian, so it kind of works. But like, I have a really hard time being anything other than third mask all the time. Like, other than, like, yep, I got fucking raped as a kid, bro. You want to talk about it? Like, you know, which is not appropriate for most conversations, and it really turns people off sometimes. But,
well, then, it's like...
But it also, like, weeds through the
Obviously,
crowd.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if you say stuff like that. But then it's also a matter of, like... I'm not saying you specifically, but, like, I have had people... It's like... Dude, you don't need to be putting your trauma on me right now. Like,
no, that's fair too.
Some decorum, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fair too. And I think as I've grown up and as I've matured and stuff, I've realized that I don't need to like give that to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, it's part of my, you know, my persona as an artist and whatnot. And like, I think it's important to talk about. Like, I think it's important to be vulnerable about, and I think that's good. But like. You know, it's not. I don't have to tell everybody that sits down at the fucking bar that I'm working at that like, you know, Father Donald really fucking fucked me up, and you know, in my early years. So was a
Catholic priest?
I just his name was Donald, but
and you did call him Daddy.
Hey, there it is. Yeah, no, so like, you don't got to put that on everybody, and like some people don't want it and aren't ready for it. And my, you know, immature mentality was kind of like, fuck them, like, you know, like I'm not gonna not live my truth because these fucking assholes are sensitive. But you know, I've realized in my older age, like, I mean, it's like, not everything's for everybody. You know, and that's okay, and it doesn't diminish, you know, you're trying to be honest or vulnerable, and I think like being a heroin addict and stuff, and lying so much and kind of becoming like this sort of weird, like narcissistic thing because this drug had taken over my psyche. Like I at first tried to go so far in the other direction of like lying at all that I would just be brutally, uncomfortably honest all the time, and you know, I haven't done that shit in over a decade. So like at this point, it's like I can be like a grown up and not lie while also not like just being like, this is who I totally am all the time, because that's a little aggressive and too much for people. But
what if who you truly are is an asshole? Should you be that person? I'm not saying you. I'm just saying I'm kind of talking about me right now. Should I be that person?
Yeah.
No,
funny.
I've increasingly in the last couple of years, like I've kind of just like owned it. It's like if somebody steps out of line, it's like I'm not going to be the person who doesn't tell them that. I'm not going to be the person who doesn't get up in their face about it.
No, that's fine. I think that's good. I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to like, I don't know, not put up with people's bullshit.
Yeah.
And also like so many people in the world like that need to be told like shut the fuck up, or like you're being too much, or like you're playing the victim, or whatever the fuck it is.
Or you're reprimanding a grown man in public, who isn't even me, by the way. It's my friend that I'm going to tell you, like, stay the fuck out of it.
Like, chill out, dude.
Like,
And that's, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think that there needs to be that. What I would say is that, like, and you'll find your own way to deal with the ebbs and flows of this as you grow up, man.
Yeah.
You're 25, right? Yeah, so you're a baby. You're basically a fetus.
Basically not even alive, is what you're saying.
No, your brain is now finally fully developed.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been drinking heavily for a long time.
I mean, I was addicted to meth and heroin before I turned 25.
Yeah.
I haven't done either since, but yeah, I mean, like, there's a thing, like, everything's going to start to make a lot more sense from here on out.
Yeah.
And these, like, really subtle, kind of low energy, like just, like, comforting ways where, like, there's something that happened for me when I turned 30 where I was just like, oh, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. But
also, like, I don't have to be a dick about it either. Yeah. I can be if I need to be, but like there was like this sort of like weird thing that happened. I don't know, and I still feel like I'm very youthful, and like I still also feel like I'm like a angry 18-year-old all the time too.
Yeah.
So like, there's a mixture of it, but fuck, man, like who I used to be was just like, oh, you don't even deserve a filter, not for your fucking comfort and convenience.
Yeah.
And it was real masturbatory and fucking gay. So like, I don't know. Like now I've kind of like looking at it from the other side where I'm like, you don't get to see my whole self until you mean something to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
And that's the mask theory, right? Full circle. It's like the mask theory is like it's self-evident and it's natural and it serves a purpose.
Yeah. Well, and like I like kind of resented and thought people that were able to do first, second, and third masks were like hiding or like scared or like
they're living in 1984, like they're in a way.
And I thought that I was like brave for just being like this brash, only third mask person all the time person.
Yeah.
But in my old age, I realized that no, there's actually some sort of like a level of self-control and maturity to being like, you don't get everything just yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
God damn it. Got the old tickle in the throat. The old frog in the tunnel. Well, I think we did it.
Okay.
We're gonna have to go to Kill Tony.
Maybe. We're gonna have to go sign up anyway.
Yeah, that's the idea. Well, again, tell all the people where they can find you.
On Instagram,
God damn it.
at Jack Stoltman. First name Jack, last name Stoltman, and it's all one word, all lower cases.
Hell yeah. Thanks for probably the 70 people that are going to watch this episode.
That's pretty good.
We appreciate you. Cool. Whatever. We can do a longer one another time if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was over an hour.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
We shoot for 3. We like to do like really long format, gross conversations.
Could come back to it tonight, or could just do a longer one later. I'm up for either.
Yeah, we might do a part 2 if there's nothing else happening after Tony. But we'll see. Either way. All right. See you, squad. Fuck off.